Othello by William Shakespeare, story summary. If you are wondering about certain of the characters and how I've portrayed them, there is my video where I do a character map, character sketch, and the reasoning why I've drawn them a certain way. You will notice that there are a lot of people involved, characters, if you want to call them that. Iago in particular, you will notice he's the one with the funny face, but I'll explain that in a little while. But this is going to be 3 panels of the story. Please keep in mind it is a summary, all right? So if you are using this to study for the upcoming matric final exam, please make sure that you look at the notes that your teachers gave you, that you look at the notes in the study guide, in the book that you were given, any photocopied notes, anything extra that you might have written down or might have received from your teachers. So please, this is not a substitute for actually reading the story. So, Iago has the face that he has because he swears by Janus, which according to Greek and Roman mythology is the two-headed god. So think of somebody who is two-faced, somebody who is a backstabber, because that literally happens in this story, so figuratively and literally. So that's why I've chosen to draw him the way he is. I will make an addition that I didn't include in the character sketch, that the one side of the face seems to be smiling, almost a concerned look, while the other side of the face definitely has a sense of spite or malevolence about it. So Act 1, Scene 1 is written in red at the top left-hand corner. The other scenes are written in the bottom right, especially where I've split them. For the second panel and the third panel, I have just secluded or separated a particular part of that scene, just because there is a lot going on in every scene, almost all of them. And so I felt it necessary just to divide up some of the information just so that there's not an overload. So Act 1, Scene 1, we've got Iago and Rodrigo. They are having a conversation. The scene starts with it midway. They are on their way to Brabantio's house. They are going to tell him that his daughter, Desdemona, is spending a honeymoon night with Othello the Moor. They speak about him in derogatory terms. They speak about the relationship in animalistic, sensual, crude, raw, explicit terminology, metaphors, and they are being very crass about it. Iago keeps towards the back. He never reveals his name to Brabantio, and when Brabantio is on his way down to meet up with servants and family in order to go with Rodrigo to confront Othello, Iago actually slips away. So while everybody is getting themselves together, because this is very early in the morning, we're talking about 1 o'clock in the morning, Iago slips away so that he can meet with Othello, because basically he is duplicitous, he is deceitful, he is running several different schemes at the same time, definitely dual-headed person, backstabber, two-faced, all of that. So Rodrigo convinces Brabantio that they need to confront Othello, makes it seem like Othello has stolen Desdemona, using witchcraft and charms. It comes up a lot in the beginning of the play, and basically there is the belief that no Venetian woman in her right mind would actually choose to marry and be with an African man, an Arabian man, because Othello is a Moor. Remember, he is a mercenary, comes from northern Africa, and he was enlisted or hired by the Venetian Duke to help them fight their wars. So please just keep that in the back of your mind. You might say, but hang on a minute, like this is, make-believe, and it was Shakespeare's time, and, why is there racism and prejudice? Well, that's exactly the thing. It's not new. It's been around forever. So there has always been that in the world amongst people. So in the second scene, we have Iago and Othello, and Iago has been telling Othello that Brabantio has been speaking badly about him, and he got so angry and he actually wanted to hurt him and fight him, and this is so unjust. And one of two things, he's trying to rile Othello up, he's trying to get him worked up so that he will act rashly, impulsively, and make bad decisions and be brought low, have some kind of harsh consequence. And secondly, he's trying to prove his loyalty. So, I'm telling you this because I'm with you, I'm your friend, I'm loyal to you, I need you to know what people are saying about you. Again, it's that two-faced nature. Why is he doing this? Because he believes a rumor that Othello slept with his wife. Secondly, he's been demoted to a flag bearer when he wanted to be lieutenant. And thirdly, as a spin-off of that, he believes that the person that they chose to be Othello's lieutenant, the person that Othello seemed to be happy with, he's got a problem with. He believes that he hasn't done enough service, he doesn't have enough field time, and it's just not a good match. So this is part of Iago's mentality and thinking and motivation. So then you'll notice two groups of people. So you've got Cassio arriving with some men from the palace, from the fortress where the Duke is, and then you've got another group with Brabantio and some of his servants and family coming to confront Othello. And Cassio says he's the one holding the bottle, and he says something has happened, the Duke has called for you, the senators have all woken up, everybody's waiting for you. And Brabantio says, wonderful opportunity, he's the one with the tombstone behind his head. Sure, definitely, I've also got a very pressing matter, I'm not going to let this lie, so let's go to the Duke and we can discuss the affairs of state, and also I can get justice for what has happened. Then we've got Act 1, Scene 3, so quite a few things going on there. So we've got the senators, and they are with the Duke. They are busy looking at a map because their Turkish fleet is going against Cyprus. Cyprus has called for aid. Gondor calls for aid, the beacons are lit. So anyway, they have called for aid, and there are mixed messages. I heard so many ships, no, I heard so many, and the Duke says, well, however many ships, we know that they are sailing against Cyprus. That seems to be the issue. There is also the other issue that part of the fleet is broken off to go to Cyprus while they were actually headed for Rhodes. So that didn't make sense to them. Rhodes is better defended, it's closer to Venice, it doesn't make a smart move. And that's when somebody runs in and says, no, but part of the Turkish fleet is actually broken off and headed for Cyprus. So a little bit of subterfuge there. So we've got Othello standing with Iago, Cassio, and obviously his own servants and guards and soldiers. And he says, yes, I'm willing to help, here I am. And Brabantio says, no, there is a bigger matter. My daughter has been stolen from me. It's witchcraft, it's magic, it's terrible. And the Duke's like, no, this is shocking. I will give you full power and authority to sentence this person. And Brabantio is like, yes, this person is Othello. And the Duke and the senators are like, what? Hang on, like, this is not Othello that we know. Like, let's backtrack a little bit here. And Othello says, I wooed her. I won her over. I didn't use witchcraft and potions and black magic or anything like that. I came to the house very often, visiting with her father at his request, and she listened to my stories. She really enjoyed them. She was moved by the suffering that I had been through, and when I saw that she was interested, I returned the interest, and we have been married, and it's all legal and binding and all consensual, and this is how the matter stands. And then he says, why don't you ask her? Why don't we call for Desdemona and let her give her reasoning? Which at the time one wouldn't really think of, because women weren't really given much thought, much value, much, power by way of testimony or giving a witness. So the fact that this man, who is seen as a barbarian to some of these Venetian so-called civilized people, giving his wife her own opportunity to speak for herself, that would have been quite something. So there we have Desdemona. She's got the halo, she's got the handkerchief with the red strawberry sewn onto it, and she says, yeah, it's exactly as Othello said, like, I really love him. And father, how mother turned from her family and chose you, I must turn from you and choose Othello. And as they're leaving, the Duke says to Brabantio, listen, you've actually won out here. It's a win-win situation. There's no one else that I think would be better suited to be with your daughter. Just give it time. And Brabantio's not happy about that. He feels like his daughter has disowned him, and he's not willing to give her anything for her marriage either. Then towards the end of the scene, at the very, very end, once everybody has left and gone their separate ways, Rodrigo is lamenting his fate to Iago. I don't want to be around. I'd rather be dead. What's the point of this? I've loved Desdemona. I've wanted her all my life, and now she's with Othello, and oh, woe is me. And Iago says, you know what? Be a man. Suck it up. Deal with it. They are going off to war. They are going to Cyprus. Get yourself together. Pull yourself towards yourself. We'll go and join them. And then I promise you, by the end of it, you will have Desdemona. And Iago makes a lot of promises, and Rodrigo gives him money to further his cause, and he believes that Iago is now going to be his wingman and ensure that he gets Desdemona. Iago also then has a moment alone where he says, I'm playing Rodrigo like a fiddle, like an instrument. I'm going to bend him to my own will. I'm going to use him for my own cause, and he's just going to be another means to the end of getting back at Othello. Okay, Act 2, Scene 1. We meet at Cyprus. So Montano is there with his men, and they are waiting to hear from the ships, wait to hear back from the messages that they sent. There has been a terrible storm, like a massive storm, thunder, lightning, high waves, and partly they are worried that Othello, Cassio, Iago, the soldiers that the Duke of Venice sent, have maybe shipwrecked or capsized or lost some of their people. And then they also receive word that the Turkish fleet also got caught in the storm and seemed to have been completely destroyed in shipwrecks. So on the one side, they are quite happy, but they are very worried. So the first group to arrive is Cassio with his men, and he says no, that he and Othello were separated at sea. Then Iago, his wife Emilia, Rodrigo, and Desdemona arrive, and she herself is very worried about the whole situation. And then finally, the third ship to arrive is Othello and the soldiers that are with him. And there is a great reunion, much love, much kissing, hugging, shaking of hands, brotherly love, all of that kind of thing. And they feel like this is good. This is a means of celebration. Everybody has come safely, and the enemy has been defeated, thwarted, and this is good. Iago does see some friendly, courteous behavior between Cassio and Desdemona, and he feels like he can use this to his advantage. Rodrigo is obviously also there having a look at things. Iago's wife is there. There is a brief conversation between Iago, Desdemona, Emilia, and Cassio about woman and love, and Iago is very derogatory towards women, very chauvinistic, believes that they're not really worth anything, has the mentality that every time you get an interesting woman, there's bound to be some baggage, and if you truly get a really wonderful woman, then what's the point? They're boring. Then at the bottom of that panel, you'll see that I also sectioned off a conversation with Iago and Rodrigo. And this is now where Iago starts formulating and putting into motion his plan. So he says that Rodrigo must start a fight with Cassio. He's going to get Cassio drunk. And we're going to get him demoted, and that way we can build up to actually getting Othello and Desdemona. And Act 2, Scene 2 is a very, very short scene, but it's basically a herald saying that, because of the victory against the Turkish fleet, and because everybody is home safe, and because Othello hasn't really had a proper wedding reception, there is going to be a big party. Obviously, the soldiers have their own duties and posts that they need to keep to, but there will be a town-wide banquet held. Then Act 2, Scene 3. So Iago is having a conversation with Cassio and says that before they go on duty, some of the Venetian men want to spend time, and it's only courteous that we allow them that. And Cassio says no, but that I've got this problem with alcohol, it's a temptation. And Iago eventually convinces him. So then Montano and some of the other men from Cyprus, they get together, much drinking and laughing and chatting and entertainment. And then Cassio gets up and says no, he's going to do his duties, and he leaves. And that is when, if you look at the bottom, Rodrigo actually attacks Cassio. Cassio says something along the lines of, this man's trying to teach me how to do my job, which he doesn't take very kindly to. Obviously, he's inebriated, so a fight breaks out. Montano tries to stop him. Fight breaks out between the two of them, and Cassio actually injures Montano. Now, why does that matter? Because he's the governor of Cyprus, and Cassio is supposed to know better. He's Othello's lieutenant. So Othello gets woken up, and he comes storming in, and Iago tries to make it out like, I don't really want to say, and Othello's like, yes, I get it, you have, camaraderie between you and Cassio, but this cannot continue. And right there, publicly in front of everybody, he demotes Cassio. You can't be my lieutenant anymore. If you're not going to behave yourself, if you're not going to follow rules and create law and order, then I can't have you as my lieutenant. So with Othello, the thing is, this man is also a representative of himself and of the Venetian soldiers. And you can't have somebody like that losing control, because it creates an air of no confidence, and he represents more than just himself. So for him, it's a harsher punishment, and that's going to come up later. And basically Cassio leaves, everybody leaves, and that's the end of the scene. So that's now the seed that has been sown. I think I'm going to do this in a 3-part, because there is quite a lot that is going on. So I'm going to end it here, and then I will do a second and a third video for the next few panels.